Jeez. All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to VR Verdict Podcast, episode 102. Or is it 103? It's 103. Holy cow.
I
Our weekly
count.
podcast where we talk about everything VR. I am PJ.
I'm Wookie.
I'm Koen.
We're talking to Koen from the Hubris team, working on the game Hubris VR. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Like, you were kind enough to share a demo, and I gotta tell you, I mean, we talked on Twitter a little bit, but Hubris like blew me away. Like, I was not expecting what I was in.
Nice.
So my first question, you probably saw it on Twitter, was like, how the hell does this game look so good? For someone listening or watching, the game is on par with Half-Life Alyx and Lone Echo graphically, and you stole my heart because I love underwater things. And one of the first things you kind of do is go into some water, and I was just like, I'm at home here. So how did this happen?
Well, it's actually so. I don't know if you know a bit of the background in our studio. So actually, Cyborn used to create movies. So we got like this this background history in creating 3D animated movies, which actually has like the graphical quality because it's not real time. It's all pre-rendered. It goes quite far, especially the lighting and stuff like that. So we think it's super important for us that all those things like match perfectly. And then at one point we actually did a tech demo in virtual reality about our own IP, because before that we were working on the movies. It was most of the times like we like co-productions with other studios, and then they got a script, or then it was a movie about something they liked. But in the meantime, we've always been working on Hubris since like the founder actually worked on it for the past 20 years, but more like on scripts and backstory and everything. So since the founding of Cyborn, it's his little project. So it was always there, and then we actually had the opportunity to create a tech demo about Hubris Universe on like a big tech fair in Antwerp, and then we just created like this this super far pushed virtual reality experience. It was even with the leap motion still, because there was no default hand tracking, so we did a few nice things in there as well. And it was just like a super well worked out environment in the Hubris universe. And we just went all the way there, like on graphical quality. So it was a quite contained room. It was like, I think, just as big as your studio, and it was like a super modern. It was a loft type of thing. And then we went all the way on the lighting, on the models, on the shading, and we just spent a lot of time in making it look very nice. And then that was the base. And then from there on, we actually wanted to apply the nicety of the contained room into all the rest you were seeing. And then because we actually started our entire pipeline from, okay, it needs to look this good. We spent a lot of time on, okay, how do we need to do the lighting good? How do we need to like the entire tech art pipeline, the shading and things like that. We just spent a lot of time on it, and then using Unreal Engine. And then always, like, whenever they did an update, we were like, okay, we need these features. So we always are updating as well. And I think at this point, this is more or less the farthest you can get in Unreal Engine. In the 4, because we didn't go to 5 yet. And then in virtual reality, I don't believe you can go a lot further without, like, blowing up the entire engine. So we just kept pushing it. That's basically it, yeah.
That's awesome. It is beautiful. Like the demo I think you gave me, you can kind of go through the whole thing in about half hour or so, and I've probably played 3 hours in there. Like I've done it like 4 or 5 times. It's just
nice.
You kind of have some areas where you can kind of like look around and you know, it's kind of open. And like I said, the underwater stuff, like my biggest thing is the spacesuit, and I've seen this in some movies and shows, but I've always wondered why games haven't done this. So like the spacesuit lets you go underwater. Obviously, it's kind of the same thing, and it is so awesome. Like where did you come up with that idea, or was that from the start, or?
No, actually, I think because we started demoing quite early at the start, locomotion was almost not done. I think that was 3 or 4 years ago. Everyone was like, "No, you have to do teleportation to move because else we get sick." It actually evolved quite quickly. Because now if you don't create a game without like the default locomotion, you're like, what are you guys doing? It's not immersive enough. So it actually evolves quite quickly. And at that point, we were actually looking at ways. Okay, so we got the teleportation, but it's not that nice. It's not that immersive, right? So we want to find other ways to move around in the space without breaking anything. And then obviously, swimming, for example. Okay, you're making the physical movements. Okay, that's nice because you don't like your body isn't fighting it. And then we also came up with the first iteration of the climbing. And then, okay, if you climb, you're actually also doing something. And then we had swimming and climbing in the first few demos, and then we could still teleport around. And then from there on, we just evolved forward and forward. Obviously, the swimming back, like the first iteration was definitely not like now it's getting really, really good. It took us like many tries to get to that point as well, huh?
Yeah, it's really nice. Okay, did you play the demo or no?
I didn't even know. I'd never heard of it until we went on the podcast the other night. I was just staring at the screenshots, like, holy shit, what is this?
So, yeah, you jump into the water in many different areas, but like, and you like float, and you like there's like a quick move. And if for anyone who's played Triton VR, you know the only way you can move is to move your arms and swim, but you guys took it another step. Like you can like go backwards, and you can like use one hand and just kind of go up a little bit. Like it feels so good. Like I was so amazed by that, and it's gorgeous. Like the underwater, just gorgeous.
Is this run on Quest 1 or is it just Quest 2? Or
it's only on Linked, so Quest 1 and 2. If you use Link or the cable, but you can also do
there's PC
with the Air and with virtual desktop. Like you can play it. But you need a gaming PC.
I was gonna ask, like, hopeful that it runs on a Quest, but I was like, that can't.
No, not yet. We will eventually make a port, but obviously it won't be that far yet. But we actually did 2 tech demos as well on the Quest to see how far we could go, and I was back still on the Quest 1, and it is still quite nice, right? But obviously it's a Quest, so we don't got a lot of the niceties. But I think it's just about the good, like the lighting. It needs to have like this nice mood, this nice atmosphere, and then the shapes of the geometry, and not necessarily the super big details. But if you can give the impression that you're there, your mind quickly gets into it, and then it fills in the rest of the gaps. So it's less nice, but it doesn't necessarily make it worse.
Yeah, and the whole time, like there's obviously different areas, but there's some really like deep water, and the whole time I'm swimming around in there, I had the feeling like something's just gonna pop out and like eat me, like a big freaking like fish or monster or something. So it had the right vibes.
Yeah. Well, not that scary yet like Subnautica, but I think that would be nice maybe. But maybe you will like later in the game swim deeper and maybe something will catch you. Who knows? We'll see that when it's there, I guess.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
So another cool thing, your weapon design. So the first weapon you get, and I'm going by the demo, so obviously anyone listening, watching this might change. But you have this little, kind of like a handgun, but it's like an underwater spear gun, and you can like shoot the squids and things. And it doesn't do anything out of the water, which I thought was awesome, because the easy route would have been, oh, this tool does everything, and you guys didn't kind of go that route. So, but the shooting on land feels really good too. So, tell us a little bit about weapon design and what.
Actually, so what I want to say as well, so the current weapons as well, they were like slightly off calibrated for some headsets. So because we're working on a Steam demo right now and it runs completely on OpenXR, so that's also quite nice. And then it will support all the headsets and perfect calibration. So if someone would play the game or saw some footage and thought that sometimes the aiming was a little bit off, that's probably why. And then the weapon design. I think we like the game itself went through so many iterations. I think we went from like a very heavy narrative approach based of game to this like more action adventure type of game. So that's what you're seeing now. And at the start, we didn't necessarily want to have like shooting combat into the game, but it just grew into the game and into the design, and we wanted to see how that went. And then at the first iteration, we actually went with, okay, maybe it's nice if we got a gun that you can use only on the water, and then later we can see how that evolves. So I think the game is really, we just like went over something. Is this nice? Yes, okay, we can keep it. If this is not nice, then we dump it. And then we just added a lot of things over and over to it. And then eventually it needs to feel right for us. And then we start shooting. And if we are like, okay, no, this is not good, then we keep changing it. And then eventually you get to the point where it feels this nice. But I think we like easily there's like maybe 20 stuff that went into the garbage bin before we get to this point. And that goes quite far, actually. Even with like concept art, we try to keep iterating over it. The founder of the studio is always like, he's quite strict in the things that if you find something in our universe and it matches too much like with something in real life, it's not really sci-fi, right? Because well, it is sci-fi, but our game is not the future of the world. It doesn't necessarily, it's just another universe, right? It's not connected. So we wanted to always go like one step further, and then like, okay, then we go with the design. Does this look like something like too familiar or not too, like it's like a fine line, like it can be too, and then we go over it again, and then eventually you come to okay, this is a harpoon gun, this is nice. Okay, but it's not nice if you like can make it shoot too fast, and it needs like this nice reload time, and then you need like the heaviness when you shoot because it takes a lot of time. It's basically a lot of testing, and then being very honest about your product, I think, and then throwing it away if it doesn't work, and then iterating when it does.
To that point, it's kind of towards the end of the demo. You come out of the water up on this like landing platform and shoot a couple things, and then there's you're supposed to go down into the base, and it's kind of blocked. And I was so surprised to like turn, and there's like this huge crane, and you actually like, and like if your player is like this tall, the crane's probably like this. And you climb up into it, and then you like drive the entire crane and like pick up that box and move it. Like, I was not expecting any of that. So, are there more planned mechanics like that with like in-world items that you're gonna have to deal with?
Let me think. Yes, but not necessarily literally like the crane. But we did try to like put in like a lot of things that we think, okay, this is nice to have in VR, and this is something you can probably only experience this way in virtual reality. Especially, we try to play, for example, a lot with heights and like with big objects, because obviously, like a big container, you can't move it by hand, so it makes you need something bigger for that. We do got some other like mechanical stuff that you drive later through the demo, and there are a few things, but not literally like the crane. The crane does come back here and there, so it's still used. But
like, the design of the crane Wookiee is really neat because it's, like I said, it's really high, and you drive it. The inside of it is kind of open, so you actually drive it over the big box, and then you move it. It's just really, it's very sci-fi. It's really neat.
That sounds cool. I love it when games have those like unique mechanics, because I've complained before, like, the new Halo came out, and speaking of non-VR games that do this sort of stuff, I remember playing, like, I think it was Halo 5. It's just same old Halo, not bad. You're just running around. And then there'd be a cutscene where the Halo guys, or the Spartans or whatever, they're skidding down like a slope, shooting stuff, like all dynamic. Like you're sitting here like, okay, this is okay. And then they're doing all this crazy stuff in the cutscene. And it goes back to the same old, and I'm like, now I was falling asleep. And then that cutscene happened. Like, that would have been fun to do, a little mechanic to break things up or to be unique. And then I go back to, like, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Rockstar. They have a spot where, like, you're one of the characters on a shipping dock moving cranes and stuff or doing all this stuff. You only really do it once, but it's like they took that time to make it as immersive or just kind of unique as possible. Whereas Halo was just like, hey, wouldn't this be fun to do? Yoink, you can't do it. But, like, if you have, like, intricate things, like I want to go up in that crane or have to go up, and then you actually, like, move it and control it, little minutia to get you, like, invested in the world. Those details, like, get me all the time. I'll sit there and do that for like 2 hours, just messing with it.
I did drive that crane all around that platform and was doing weird things with it.
What can I pick up? Can I drive it off the edge? Like all sorts of crazy stuff. So that sounds neat. What is if I can ask, like, what is the game about? Because the screenshots make me want to play.
Maybe we should have started with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Hubris is a sci-fi action adventure game, and you actually take on the role of a triple O recruit. And a triple O is like the Order of Objectivity. It's like a big space organization. It rules like a super big part of the galaxy, and they call it the Order of Objectivity. And basically you are a recruit, so you're trying to like grow into the organization and become actually an agent of the triple O. And then in the game itself, you actually are flying towards your last mission. So the tutorial is actually an introduction towards your last mission. You get like this new space suit, which is like extra powerful. You can actually climb, you can swim with it, and then you get used to like your new toys. And then you get sent off towards the Pillar planets, which is actually it should be quite safe system at the edge of the galaxy of the triple O, of the Empire. And while you're actually flying towards that spot, suddenly you get like an emergency call from one of your top agents, and it's Tyrum. He's like a super high ranking officer of the triple O, and he actually says, everyone in the ship, stop like immediately now. What you have to do, we got like this emergency call from a secret agent nearby, and you are the closest ship to that planet, and you have to go down to that planet right now. And you have to find her because she's in danger. We didn't hear anything anymore of her, but obviously she's on some kind of like big important mission. And you not necessarily as a recruit, but there's two agents with you, like actual soldiers, and they have to fix it. So, but then by the time that you actually you start landing on top of the planet, and then while you are actually trying to land, another spaceship actually swiftly exits the atmosphere, and you have to dodge it. And because if you dodge it, you actually miss the spaceport, and then you actually land in the water. And then from there on, you wake up again. The two agents are gone, and then you meet up with your pilot, who is it's Lucia. And she quickly explains to you, okay, so the agents are gone. They're already doing whatever they have to do. But I don't got contact with them right now. Maybe you can also go and check out what happened. Is something going down there or whatever? Go and find out, and then that's where actually the entire adventure starts.
That even still sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. I loved the opening. Like the tutorial was great, and had some funny stuff. But I love the opening. Like the back door of the ship opens and you're underwater and you just swim out, and that's where you're at. And it's just, instead of just like spawning somewhere, like you actually like Wookie said, you don't watch the cutscene, you are the cutscene type of thing, and you actually do it. So yeah, it was really neat.
And I think that sort of stuff probably comes from the movie, the cinematic background. Just like to give, I love it when people kind of do that stuff because it makes you want to feel like you're in the movie. I've always hated cutscenes ever since PlayStation 1, when it's like, hey, here's like a fully rendered thing, and then you come in and here's, a 4-poly character, and you can't tell what's going on. I'm like, No, that's not very nice. Bait switch. But like, I love it when the game makers and I was like, you guys like make you feel like you're part of the movie because we don't really have that. As cinematic as games try to get, you always got to die and respawn. I'm always like, I want to feel like Han Solo, who's always like kind of half screwing stuff up, like getting out of it by the skin of your teeth, not just restart and like the expanse of that bottom left screenshot and that 4 screenshots we have. That sucked me in. So did the top left one. Those two are just like, I want to go to both of those places. And just from the look, it's like cinematic as crap. So.
Nice. Yeah, it's also whenever we did the cutscene thing, we don't want to lock down the player because it's super annoying. Obviously, there are some spots where we do it, but we almost like literally time it, and then it's like, okay, this is it. We have to like either shorten the dialogue, either make it interactive, or just just make that the player maybe can skip it. But then if he can skip it, you don't want to like pull the 2 triggers and then skip the dialogue because that also breaks it. So we try to bring it as close as possible. Obviously, it's super hard to do it in VR because you can just pretty much do whatever you want. Like, what's the limit? Like, if you push the main character, will he just like push you back, shoot you in the head? I mean, that's nice, but yeah, you have to somewhere to have a limit. But we definitely try to explore it as far as possible. Those things, yeah.
And in the opening, I thought it was really neat when I already forgot his name, but the top guy, it's like it's like a hologram of him, and it looks really good. But you can like you said, you can do whatever you want. So like, obviously after the first time I played it, the next couple of times I was just seeing what was going on behind the scenes if I could. I was walking around him and like put my head into the hologram, and but it looked really good. And I love how the start of it, like I said, you're on the ship, you're in space, and you kind of think it like the story's going this way, and then all of a sudden when you finally play, like you crash landed underwater, and it's not like a space game anymore. It's like you're on a planet trying to survive and find things out.
Yeah, like immediately in the action. Yeah. That's nice. But I think it actually wasn't that easy, and we went with that introduction because it's definitely most immersive. But it also like because some people got a very hard time the first time with the swimming and then the climbing. You immediately need to do so many things at the same time that it's sometimes a lot for some players. So yeah, it's a bit again like how far do we push this entire thing towards? Yeah, do you want immersion? Do you want like the super nice like linear curve in difficulty? But basically, you already get like almost the entire package thrown at you. And that I think, for example, that's a super good advantage from VR gaming compared to like desktop gaming. If you would have a start like this on desktop gaming, your player would have already like you needed like 7 different buttons. Okay, press this to swim, do this to go that, and do this, and then. But now it's just like, yeah, just move your hands. You want to climb? Sure, just grab onto something, and then it's way more intuitive compared to like, I mean, you would need like half your keyboard, and then that's a nice thing.
Yeah, totally. It's like. There was a game I first played on like Dreamcast, and it was like I think it was made by the Star Citizen dude way back, one of those spaceship games, and I loved it on Dreamcast, and the controls worked well, and I got it on PC, later on for just to future-proof it, and I still have the map out for the keyboard, and it uses, I think, every damn key on the keyboard. So I've never actually played it on PC because I'm like, I don't have the time to learn the keyboard. Like, can I use the controller? Like, they don't have the controller scheme, which was perfect. Put that in the PC. So I love the VR, especially when people are like, just try to use your hands as much as possible. That is so cool. Because you're just like, these are my controllers.
To your point, like, I was kind of surprised to see there's some light platforming in the game. But you guys really did a cool thing with it where, like, you're in this pool area on some water, and you got to, like, go underwater and like blast up so these rocks float up so you can actually make your way up, and they're spaced out pretty well. You can just jump to a couple of them, but the rest of them you have to like run, jump, and then as you're jumping, you have to like hit the grab buttons on the controllers to grab the ledges and pull yourself up. I thought that was so amazing.
Nice.
And the first time I did it, I went through without an issue. And then the second time, I just got in my own head and I was like not catching the ledge and falling and all kinds of things. But it was really neat. And it's, again, you're using your arms and your hands, and it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And
I try to do
platforming
that
in
stuff.
VR is not done very often. So I was kind of shocked.
I always try to do when you can climb in games, I try to do the dynamic stuff, like, try to jump up and grab with one hand, and I can never do it. I don't know if it's a limitation of how the game made it. You try to, like, just to see if like, in motion, can I grab on, and half the time I can't. I don't know if it's because I miss it, or, like I said, if the game's not really
Normally it's
set
the
up to do
game,
that.
I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, we played Zero Caliber. I hadn't played that. And we played the Quest version. It's fine. You're going through like a training thing, and you got to like, do the overhand, like monkey bars almost. And there's like one where like it's broken and it's kind of just hanging down. And I just like kept going through it. And I was like, is it me or the game? It took me like 6 tries. I'm like, this isn't that hard. Again, it's a, Quest port, but I always like it.
No idea. I think it's mostly about implementation as well, but
Yeah.
it's quite tricky, I think, to get it exactly right. For example, the floating rock section is a good example. We get a lot of people that get frustrated there because the geometry of the rock, like normally our climbing edges are more like this roughly, so it's sharper edges, but this is more like a rock, so it has a little bit of a bulge. So what happens if you would jump and if you would grasp like this, then it would probably almost work. But most of the people, like even in virtual reality, they play like with the controller. So they got their hands like this, and they're like, and they just move a little bit. And then what would happen is before they would grab onto it, like for example, your entire body is a collider, right? It has collision with geometry. So you would bump yourself off again. While if you would just like go the immersive route and then like grasp onto it, then it would work. But that's stuff that we are tweaking constantly. And it's the curse, but also the nicety of making a VR game. The room of freedom is huge, right? Like you can do everything you want, but you can really do everything you want, but so that's also a problem in like developing the game and getting the things right, because if I grab this corner of the table, then it has to work, and this as well. While in a desktop game you just say, okay, press this button to climb, and it would always snap, okay, the hand here, there, and that's just, you press a button and it works. But we need to take like everything into account.
Yeah, like ladders and stuff, trying to time your hands when you're trying to climb fast. In real life, it's fun. You're kind of doing your real life motions. But if the game's ladder is a little weird or something like that, I fall off every time. I'm like, no. But it's just me.
I don't know if you guys did this on purpose, but I thought it was a happy accident if you didn't. To kind of bridge the gap between people that were getting frustrated. Like I found an easier way to do it. Where you just kind of hold the grips down, you run and jump, and you just catch it. I was always like timing my button press, catching it, because it felt more natural. But like I said, that time I was just in my head and falling off after I've already done it. I found that out. I'm like, oh, that's a good compromise to kind of get you in the action.
You don't have to time it. You can just keep it shut, and then it actually snaps. We also did it. We had the timing thing, and it gets really hard for some people, especially because the not necessarily the timing, but it's very hard for your body to know exactly when to grab. Like, okay, now I grab, and then the timing is too short. Like it's like maybe 0.2 seconds, and everyone would miss it most likely. So if you would just fall on top of it, like, then it works.
That's why I was so surprised my first go through it. I did the button press, like I didn't even think about it, and it just worked perfectly. And I'm like, damn, that was really good. Like all hell broke loose.
Did you happen to record you bouncing off the rock? Because that would be a funny, like, especially if you could have a camera, like watching somebody do that, like a quick cut scene of like a montage of you failing, just bouncing off left and right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So you said shooting wasn't like a big part of the game, but it kind of grew into it. Like, how does that happen? Or did I
Well,
mishear that?
because at first we just thought, well, when we started the game, like when we actually started, it was not done to have like I mean, it was all like the Star Wars, the Vader Immortal series. That was like, whoa, this is nice, right? That's the moment when we started the game. But then when we kept developing it, we just wanted to have to have more in it. We wanted it to feel right. And the founder and me as well, we are great fan of shooting games and actually action adventure games. For example, then it's a flat 2D game, but Fallen Order, like Star Wars Fallen Order, we thought it was great. So I think we just wanted to put the things in there that we really loved, and it just matches so well because it's a sci-fi action adventure. It's like the match made in heaven, right? And that's just when at one point we just said it. You know what? We just go all the way with it. And then we also like started developing a lot longer than planned onto the game. But now, like the demo, how it is right now, and all the scenes that are still coming, I think it's like perfect. Like we were able to pour everything in it that we wanted. And if the game is done, then we are like, okay, nice. We didn't take the compromises that we wanted to, and we just went all out. Sure, it took us longer, but now it's really this nice game, and we like shooting, so shooting is in there. We like the platforming to some degree. We also put it in there. We like a little bit of exploring, a bit of so gathering and stuff, resources. That's all in there, and then now it feels as one nice whole unit.
I'm so glad to hear you say that you're somewhat inspired by Fallen Order, because that was the first feeling I had. I'm like, this is freaking Falling Order in VR almost. Like, so that's awesome. So you accomplished it.
Nice. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, I do love, like those games, like you have a little bit of everything, action, the exploring, because Wookie and I are both kind of similar that way. Like, we'll kill everything we can and then just take 5-10 minutes and just look at every corner of that area and check it out. So, because we talked to a lot of developers, and even before we did that, I always felt bad. I'm like, if you're just running through a game, like, you're missing all the stuff someone spent a lot of time on. So I like to go in there and look at it.
Yeah, one of the people we talked to on Twitter, I think he said he stayed up for 20 hours and finished the Halo campaign. I'm like, wait, I know, like, Halo's not supposed to be open world usually, but they made it open world, and did you just ignore that? Like, I couldn't, even though, like, I'm kind of like, well, why does every game have to be open world? This should just, you gotta really focus on that stuff. But then I'd still, if I went in there and gave it a shot, I'd have to go look around, be like, what did they, do? Because, like, said it on with other devs when we were chatting, but like Witcher 3, I just walked around that game for like weeks. Like if a VR game looks like this, I might have a problem.
Yeah, I think if you actually spend time on every corner, you will like definitely pleasure a lot of our artist guys. I think like we at one point we worked so long on like this huge prop, and then we were like, but they're only gonna spend 2 minutes in it, and then okay, but it's part of it now, and it makes the entire feeling feel right. Yeah. And sometimes you just pass by, but if some other people actually do enjoy it, and they're like, oh, look at this nice, like, oh, it's such a nice piece of texture there. Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. And then it's actually very enjoyable for the artists as well, because it's not like, obviously the gun is like always in the focus, but there's also a guy doing the foliage and the placing every small thing and texturing everything of it. So that's definitely nice to hear.
I don't know if I think I did a live run of the demo, but I think the first time I played it, I was just recording it, and I should probably maybe clip that up. I audibly gasped 3 times in the first 10 minutes, like I said, when you crash and you come out of the ship into the water. That was the first time, because I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. The first time I think was in the ship when you're practicing swimming. And then the third time when I first got up on land, before you... Oh, Wookie disappeared. You'll come back. And then the third time, when you first kind of get up on a higher plateau, and I turned around and you see, like, I don't remember if it's a moon or a planet, but the planet against the water against the landscape. I was just like, I audibly made a noise, like, or commented, and that's a pretty big thing because I don't do that a lot. And it was just like automatic. So the game is just gorgeous, like the backdrop and.
Actually, also, so we put into the game that you will, because part of VR is the immersion, and also like the even something like this, like you would like the. Oh,
you were.
I teleported out. I just want to rotate it. I mean, even an environment like this, yes, it's simple, but it's nice to look at, right? Like you can gaze a bit, you can think a bit, and we put several scenes into the game where you will be like, oh, nice. I mean, the scene that you will get into. So after you're in the service entrance towards the spaceport interior. That will be the next big one, and I mean, and it will be very nice when people are actually going to like explore that scene. We are looking forward to actually, but it's hard for me because I'm super excited about the game and about the content that comes. But we try to put those scenes like in there like over and over and over, because it's not just nice art. It's part of what makes VR, right? So you got actual adventure, but the exploration is also just part of like just looking at the scenery and thinking of, whoa, this is nice, right? If we put someone in our demo, like even this Friday we had three interns that will do an internship in February, and we let them play the game. And they started playing the game and then like they were like 50 minutes to an hour playing. And then I told them, and they're like, "What? No, it was only 15 minutes." And that's when you know that you put everything nice. It's like, okay, this is super immersive. That you lose yourself into like the universe, and that's what you need of a game, right? It's like if you would read a super good book, you would also completely lose track of time. It's like, oh shit, it's already way late in the evening. We wanted to have that in VR, and it's even more dangerous. It's even more prone to happen in virtual reality. Like you put on your glasses and you put like it's like in the morning the light just went up. You put on your VR glasses, you play something, and you take it off, and suddenly it's dark. Maybe I have to go to bed.
It's happened a lot to me.
Yeah.
And we've joked, but it's actually true. Like in this space, like you're saying in the background, it's like a sunny day out, and sometimes we're in here till for a couple hours at night talking to people, and we'll take the headset off, and it's hard to go to bed because you feel like you were just out in the sunlight. So it definitely affects you.
Yeah, definitely.
Hi, welcome back, Wookie.
Yo.
So I think Wookie, obviously you guys probably know, but Wookie had a good point, like with you guys making movies beforehand, like how it affects the game and makes it better. I want to say the voice acting, I was really surprised on too. It was like top notch, really good, solid voice acting. So how hard is that to squeeze into a game?
I think the hardest part actually is when we book the actors. You need to have your script ready, but actually when you implement all the dialogues eventually into the game, then you hear them into the gameplay. You're like, maybe we want to tweak it again, but then you have to schedule the actors again. So it's hard to take it into like the iterative process. But the demo itself like has been through a few processes already where we like put in new dialogue lines or new parts, so it made more sense. But it's definitely not that easy. And I think if you got even a bigger production where you got like this entire cast of actors, right, then I can't imagine how hard it is to do it like right. But it's just in everything in a game, you go over it until it's right, and then that's mostly the trick. I don't know, put in time and effort, and eventually it will get where you want it to be.
Do the same people from your team that when you were doing movies kind of switch over to the game and kind of do the same parts like that, like someone?
Not all of them, because the team kind of like grew dynamically. So when I joined Cyborn, that's almost 6 years ago, I guess. I actually started mostly on mobile applications. So we did a lot of mobile applications. We actually did some serious VR back then, like for companies and B2B. And then we also did some mobile games back then. And then we had like a smaller team, and then we had like a huge team working on the movies, because it's very labor intensive, especially animation. Like I think at one point we had like 35 animators or something like that, and they were just like frame per frame animation. I think they had like, because I didn't work with that team back then, so I don't know it exactly, but I think they do roughly like 2.5 to 3 seconds each day for one character. So if you got like a scene with 5 characters in there and you got like 5 minutes, you're already like, you lose like 2 or 3 months maybe, I don't know. They need to put so much effort in that. But so for example, those animators, they didn't stay because they are like so you got like keyframe animation, which is like the picture style, like it's very like, oh, I fall, like things like that. It's not the same as a game animation, because we need to be realistic. And then we also got our own motion capture studio, so we got that team still doing the motion capture, and I'm putting the people in the suit, knowing how to clean it up, how to do the rigging, for example. Like our technical animators, those stay, but then most of the team that actually worked on the movies moved on to other projects for now. But that's also because they want to work on movies, right? So I mean, we are in the game industry and we're like, oh my God, everyone wants to work on games, right? But they are like, no, I have to work movies only, because that's what their passion is at. So I think that's kind of, so the people that are kind of 50-50 that like games and like movies, they stayed with us, but the movie people, they just moved on. Yeah.
That's interesting. So
there's a big split between that. When I went to 3D animation school, and one of the instructors was like, yeah, you guys are doing the smart thing because you guys are going into movie animation. And like half of us raised our hands, like, we're going into game animation. We got like in a big philosophical discussion and stuff. I'm like, movie animation is great, but I would get bored. I would need the dynamic stuff. I'm really interested in that. I don't animate for a living, but I wanted to know the basics and the detail and all that. So it's like, there's a right down the middle split as far as people I've met. It's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah.
But it's definitely way different to animate for a movie as for a game. But I mean, both of those industries are super big right now. So I think you can just do whatever you like, and you will. That's great, I think. Yeah.
It's always amazed me. I try to tell other people this that don't know, because I do like some audio editing, some video editing just for our podcasts and videos I make. And people don't realize, like, to make a minute video, that is normally like a 2-hour process.
Yeah.
So like when you see all these content creators and stuff, and people are like, whether you like them or not, or you watch their stuff, like, it's a lot of work. Like, they put in a lot of time and do a lot of heavy lifting with the videos. So when you see a really good video, make sure you appreciate it, because someone took a lot of time on that.
In general, with everything digital, it's very hard. It's very hard for people that are outside of the industry. Like, if you don't work with a PC day to day and you know how to create stuff with it, you can't imagine how much effort it takes. Like, if you see a house, then you know, whoa, that's a house, someone had to like physically build it. It will always be like that, because it's hard for people to grasp how much time and effort gets into it. But it's basically the same, like the amount of time you put into something virtual. It would be, if you would build it physically, it would probably take you just as much of time, because you would just go over it and then you have to like layer everything nicely on top. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like people know, well, houses have plumbing and electricals and lights and finishing. And I watched a video. I have a soft spot for modding that old Skyrim game, but I watched a video where, like, the top Skyrim mods for 2020 or whatever, and this funny lady was doing it, but like reviewing like 100 mods in one straight shot. And it's like, well, you got to get the game to work and then get the footage and have the footage be funny. Like, she's actually playing the game And like, how much do that video, the energy it took to take that video had to be like 800 hours just to get all that stuff. And then I'm sure some people are like, yep. If you don't like the content of the video, yeah, respect that technical stuff takes a ton of time. The polish and everything. Like, there's a big leap between me farting out like what I could call a game and then, those screenshots over there. Like, I don't know how much time it's taking you guys to do those and get that feel, but that's a lot of time, folks. Respect it.
So, as far as the game Hubris, do you guys have like a launch window you're aiming for, or are you just kind of when you're done type of thing?
So we are aiming first half of 2022. So it will be normally before summer. But obviously, I think it's also to like take in consideration. I don't know how everything is coping, like with COVID, for example. But right now in Belgium, it's going way worse again. And then government sometimes says, okay, now we shut down everything again. And then, so yeah, we as a company, we have to we have to follow the flow a bit, right? So we try to deliver then, but obviously stuff can happen. Who knows, maybe suddenly there's the 7th variant and everything explodes. Let's hope not, right? But I mean, but we aim before summer, but stuff can always get in between, right? But that's what we aim for.
That's nice. That's awesome. I love just, see a cool game and it's not like 3 years or 8 years away,
Yeah, we've been working on it for 3 years, so it's about time to get it out.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah, if you got Wookie, if you got a linked PC setup or VR setup, just like hit me up after this, and then I can give you an invite as well. Then you can check out them.
I do the link.
Perfect.
So as a team, do you guys, is this like the only gaming project you're working on, or do you kind of like work on a couple other things at the same time, or?
Yeah, so actually we also like Hubris is our own project, but obviously we finance it with all the B2B we do. So what Cyborn also, like a very big thing that we do is like providing animation for other studios. So we got our own motion capture studio, but then we also like do the cleanup of that animation, and then like on top of that animation, and then we also do like quite some services, mostly art related to studios. For a project that soon will be announced, we did, for example, all the motion capture cleaning, and then another one we did, for example, we did effects even, and more animation. So it goes quite wide. But yeah, we pretty much do whatever we can aside from the game, and then we try to keep moving forward with the game. So that's also a reason why sometimes it might get delayed, because maybe something gets in between, and then it's kind of out of our hands. But yeah, so basically animation and then anything art related or in your game, we actually also do that.
Nice. Fancy.
So I don't, Wookie knows better than I, but like, so I played the demo of Hubris, and aside from like, finishing levels and doing all that stuff, just as the state the demo is in, I'm like, if they release this tomorrow, and like, I would just love it. Like, it's that good. How hard is it to kind of find the balance? Like when you're like, okay, we got to push this out. It's ready enough. I know, because a lot of people are really picky, and they're like, they'll focus on one thing, like this has to look like this type of thing. How do you find that balance to know when to release or know when it's ready?
Well, I think it's also hard for us because we're definitely way too perfectionist about some things. I think we sometimes have discussions about this like small corner where people just go by and they're like, oh, this is not good, and then someone suddenly spends another week on it. But I think, yeah, you have to balance it out as well. But I think the most important thing is actually when you, for example, for a demo, so everything you see there, I think it would be roughly 2 months before we actually release it to the public. We just said, this is it. We are not adding anything anymore, but whatever is in there, it has to be good. So then we went over it and over it and over it, and then we fixed an insane amount of bugs, and then an insane amount of quality of life, performance. Like we had like one of our technical artists just like went 2 months straight just in the stats log, and then just made it smoother and smoother and smoother. So it's basically just, this is a product, and now we have to make it good. And then a good analogy, maybe, for example, when you would order plumbing in your house, you like if you got your entire central heating set up, but like one pipe is leaking, then you will give the plumber one hell of a time that he did not fix that one pipe. That's the same with the game. Like if you don't put in the last 5%, people won't like it. And I think obviously it's like since it's our own production from our own company, we don't got the outside pressure yet. For example, I think a good example would be Cyberpunk. It's obviously like so much went wrong there, but I mean, the only thing that I can imagine is it's so sad for the artists and the developers that worked on there, because it's not their call. They were super passionate, and they just like, there are so many nice things about the game, but they get overruled by the bad things, and that's the hard thing. So basically, at one point you say this is it, and even if we don't put in all the niceties that we wanted, now it has to work right, and everyone of the team has to grasp it, that they have to finish like the last percentages to really push out that quality.
That's a sad case. It's like what's there in the game is 90% good, but 10% awful brugs. But then the other side is all the videos that, you know, that the developer themselves like hyped up. Like a lot of that stuff wasn't in there, so there should be another 50% of like. You still see like the leftovers, like they have skill trees where the skill trees don't do anything. Like how do you leave that open? Like that's the kind of stuff where like if the last 5% is like the lid, and you have to put the lid on last, like, and everyone's spending their time filling up the pot, and then you got to rush it out, and like sometimes it takes a while to put that lid on, you know, like they don't give them time to put the lid on. Like, come on, it's just and it was only half full, so that's just a sad thing.
But yeah, to your point, like that's the first thing I think of, like the artists and all the background people who poured blood, sweat, and tears into it. And then, you know, that situation happens. It's like, that's got to be so hard.
Some suits, because there's so much pretty stuff in that game. Like, like everything looks good. It's fantastic looking. And it's just like, it is so sad because, like, I got the game, you know, I love The Witcher 3, got the game, wanted to walk around in the world, and it's like, I'm going to just wait. Like, I don't want to, but I'm just going to wait a little bit.
Yeah, it just calls above your head. It's not in your control. So whenever you are a little bit in control, I think people should be happy that they can actually push stuff forward.
And when you say you guys, you know, you do your own, however you said it, not funding, but you have pretty much complete control. That always makes me happy. So you guys can deliver the product that you want to and take your time on it for the most part. And that's just from my point of view anyway. Maybe it's different, but...
Yeah, I mean, obviously we still need to finish the product, but yeah, it's our time that we eventually invested it, and that's definitely nice. Yeah.
Oh, as far as Hubris is concerned, what's your favorite thing over everything else as far as the game goes? Like, is it a mechanic, or is it a level, or?
Well, it's hard to say because I made. What I do is I'm my title is lead developer, but I'm more like game director now, and so I come into a scene and then I just try to put in stuff there so that makes more sense, and then I try to polish it up together with the founder of the company, and then we just like go critically over it. But the nicest.
Which one of your children's is your favorite? Which one of your babies?
Yeah, that's really hard to state. I think later on when you get actually into gun-to-gun combat, that's nicer for me because it's more challenging. The AI of you're gonna fight against humanoid enemies, and the AI is getting quite nice, I think, and that's the point. Like when I was playing Half-Life Alyx, I actually was rolling on the ground like dodge bullets. And whenever I'm in a situation that I get like tense like that, that's what I like most, and those scenes will be there. So you played, it was kind of building up towards it, and then eventually all hell will break loose.
I'm gonna have to clear some space.
And
Yeah,
I love
I
that
mean-
you. Sorry, I love that you say that because, from your standpoint, you're probably like, yeah, the first parts, you're learning stuff and it's boring. But I love that I had that time and I could just, gaze at the open world and take in all the beauty of it, because that's how beautiful it is. And then I'm glad to hear you say like, then shit will hit the fan and like, hell will break loose. But I'm
Yeah.
glad it started out slow to give me time to like just admire everything.
That's also a hard thing to realize, that it's not as slow as we think, but we spent, I don't know, I think I'm not exaggerating when I played the introduction like over 100 times. It's just you have to do it over and over and over, and eventually you know exactly what you have to do, and then it all seems so predictive. But if you play it through the first time, first off, everyone plays relatively like between 50 minutes to an hour. So that's how long they play. Anyway, if we play it, we can rush through it extremely fast. I think the fastest time is 16 minutes or something. But that's also because we know a few like glitch spots.
Speedrun.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the speedrunners.
I have to
Game
say
got finished
that's
in 27 minutes.
yeah. That's one thing, like one aspect of gaming that I think it's awesome that they do it, but the way I play and the way I game, like that just doesn't like fit into my wheelhouse, but it's always interesting to watch them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the funny thing about speedrunners is you would say they don't enjoy the content, but they played it so many times. I mean, maybe the first time they just played decent, and then after that they go, okay, how can we abuse everything? So they probably walk this section and then they just look everywhere, and then maybe they even grasp the game way better than anyone else. But then what you see, that's the thing you said earlier about how many hours they spend in it. Then
Yeah.
you see the speedrunner finish it in 5 minutes. So like, oh my god, what you're doing? But they probably spent absurd amount of times in there.
My favorite story of those speedrunners, I think it was like the Japanese version of the Ocarina of Time on N64, where there was like a bug shipped in the Japanese version only, where they did it and they could finish the game, like go right to the last level. It takes like 15 minutes or something to kill the whole game. And like the speedrunning community still calls it, in because that's the way the game shipped in Japan. You have to play the Japanese version of it. It's like, who figured that out?
Not me.
I don't know.
Because I'm 1 foot in that, because I will like if there's like gunplay and stuff like that in a certain game or something, like I will like practice and do like how I would like to play that gun, like how I would like a mission to go down, and just be prepared for anything and just keep practicing that stuff, which is a kind of like the speedrunners, just redoing the content as quickly and as perfectly as I can. But I do that so that while I'm just walking around in the open world, something crazy happens. I've got some tactics, some strategy. So it's kind of like both. Like I will overplay that one part, and then I will just like walk around for hours. Like there's no speed run to that. But I love games that let you do either one. It's still fun.
So we're coming up on our hour here. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up or point out, or?
No, I don't know necessarily. I think it's maybe interesting for the people that might watch it, or even. We try to be super active on the Discord, so whenever you actually do got a question, just pop there, ask the question, and then we'll probably answer it. And then that's probably the best way to reach us.
Awesome.
The number one question is going to be, can I put pink bunny ears on my spacesuit that I can't see because it's VR?
If you imagine in your own head your own big bunny heads, and you can
And it's
put
already
them
there.
wherever you like. It's no problem.
That's funny.
Well, anyone like we've had a couple people in here this week, and they've stopped and just like stared
Yeah.
at the screenshots. And if a screenshot can do that, and it's all devs, so if you can stop other devs in their tracks, that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
But I honestly, anyone say, hey, what games are coming up? Hubris is right on top of my list. Like I'm really excited to play the full release and get back into the underwater and keep going in that world, because it's the atmosphere is. It's, I'm older, so like the original Star Wars movies, like I literally grew up with them, and this kind of has like that feeling where you're kind of in that universe pretty much more than most other games I've played. Not to say it's like Star Wars, but you get the feeling like, it's there and it's been there for a while, and you're like actually in it. So I think you guys nailed that. I'm excited to hop back in.
Nice.
Perfect. Well, we're also big sci-fi fans, and we are thrilled to bring a nice and like hopefully high quality sci-fi story to everyone out there, because that's just what we're excited about. So.
And then real quick to that same point, while I was underwater, all I could hear in my head was Qui-Gon saying, "There's always a bigger fish." Like I was saying, I was always waiting for something to pop out and eat me, because there's squids and other things in the water, and I'm like, okay, if that's that big, what's going to come out and just swallow everything? Type of things.
Everything is food for something else. So just don't follow the lights, right? Is there any of those like angular fish with the light bulb? Just don't follow the lights.
Yeah. Don't go too deep. Make sure you always see the bottom of the lake.
It's good
advice. In real life and VR.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming and talking to us and sharing your game. Like, I'm so excited.
Well, it was a good time.
Yeah.
I'll find you guys on Twitter. I'll get that and I'll send you a message.
Perfect. Right. Nice. Okay, what do? Do you like handshake? Bye-bye?
Yeah.
High five, handshake.
Yeah, you can't give fist bumps. They need to like fix the fingers that you can.
Yeah.
You can slap PJ.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys at it then. Right. Perfect, guys. Thanks for your time, and then bye bye.
Talk to you soon.
Whoever listens with.
Good luck
Bye-bye.
when the release is coming. Get some sleep.
Yeah, after the release maybe. Right. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Well, everyone, that was Koen from, was it Cyber? I'm an ass. Anyway, links to the show notes, everything we talked about. Sounds like a super passionate group. The game is astounding. I'm not just saying that. Like, it's like I said, when Wookiee disappeared, I audibly gasped 3 times in the first 10 minutes, and that's not normal for me, so it's pretty epic. Definitely check it out when it comes out.
I never even heard of it, so I love those silent releases where they're not like, let's build a hype train and then let's let everybody down. Like they're just doing what they love. You can tell by those screenshots. Like, I hope the feeling I get from the screenshots, my brain will like big things up. I'm like, oh, that looks like it's going to be here. And sometimes I have to, work with those expectations and stuff. But like, if the game feels like what you guys say it feels like, that's fantastic. That's what VR is made for me. Like, take cool gameplay, all this stuff, make it better, and then make it like you're in a movie. Because then, who doesn't want to be Han Solo?
I love that. Just put your game out, prove that it's good, not just hype it up. My headset battery warning popped up, so I'm going to move the PC camera up to the screenshot so you get a better look before we go. But thanks, everyone, for hanging out. Again, thanks to Spatial Ape for letting us do the podcast in the space in VR. It's so much better than audio only. Definitely come check us out. Join our live audience. Be part of the conversation.
Do it.
Otherwise, watch us on YouTube or Facebook, or say hi on Twitter.
In the metaverse.